Well, welcome to the wood shop. As you can see from the drone footage, those were actually taken last weekend. It was at minus 36 degrees Celsius. So it looks like the only thing going on out at the apiaries is the one there. Looks like the deer have found the nice green grass that was in underneath the snow. But we're in the wood shop here today. Um, I'm going to make another one of these projects. I made one prior, but I promised I'd upload the video and everything, and I've misplaced the card. So I've ordered the parts and pieces again, and what we're going to do today is we're going to make a queen cell carrier, but not just a queen cell carrier. We're going to make a 12 volt queen cell carrier. So most of the vehicles nowadays come with an inverter. It's just kind of big and awkward, and but we're going to make this one 12 volt. So no matter what vehicle you have out there, it'll have either a USB port or a cigarette port, something like that. So that's why we're up here today. Let's dive into this one. First off, I'll leave links for all of these down below. So I saw one of these down at I guess it was 2 years ago, at the first slash last, I guess, Hive Life conference. And in fact, one of my buddies bought one. So Bob bought one, but the amount that they were charging for it shocked me. So I went and bought all the supplies to make the box, and actually I bought a few things to make it in what, in my opinion, would be a little bit better. But anyways, we're going to tie in here and make this, and we're going to do this for a whole lot less money than what they were charging for them. So it's great. I guess supply and demand is one thing, but I have a hard time with the price that some of these people charge for this stuff. We're going to make this whole thing. I'll put all the links for the parts and pieces down below, but I don't think I have 50 bucks into it. Maybe 100. Don't have very much, and I've got enough supplies to probably make 3 or 4 of them. So with that, things like the foam and stuff I had to buy. I just went down to Walmart, picked it up down at Walmart. So I mean, when you buy those things, you got to buy, there's 2 in a thing for 8 bucks or 12 bucks or whatever it is. So we're gonna have lots. But anyways, let's get into this. So the first thing is a nice metal box. Oop. So this one here, just it's, in fact, I think it's the identical box. So nice metal box. We're gonna cut some holes and stuff into this. I went with the 12 volt Inkbird controller. So you want to be careful if you're going to buy one of these. Now you can do the exact same thing if you want to make it 110 volt, but I bought the 12 volt one. And then I found some, these are 20 watt 12 volt heating pads. So these, once again, there's 4 in there. I think we're only going to need 2. Each one of these is 20 watts. And I don't know if any of you out there, maybe I'm dating myself, but I remember one Christmas my little sister got, I think it was a Light Bright oven or something like that. Anyways, that took a 100-watt bulb. So we don't want to be cooking the queens. We just want to make sure that we're keeping them at the right temperature. So there's 4 in here, probably enough to do 2. I'm going to do things a little bit different. I don't want my cord dangling. So the one that they had down there, the cord was always dangling. I don't want anything that is going to allow me to catch this, knock it over, trip on, accidentally get snagged up and drop or anything like that. So this is going to help us make the cord detachable. A 12 volt plug-in, so that'll plug into the 12 volt adapter in your vehicle, and then just a cord. Now, out of all of this, I have an old one, but this is probably the most expensive piece I bought out of everything. Now, I had these, they're the old ones, and what they are is they're actually punched for the queen cells, but you can make it out of this foam as well, and I'll show you how to do that. It's basically just by cutting a couple slits and allowing the slit for it to set down in there. I like these a little bit better, just simply because if you have the cell there and the queen does hatch out, when the cup sits in there, it traps the queen down inside. So these here I just took out of the incubator. I got new ones to go in the incubator, but anyways, this is probably the most expensive piece out of everything. All right, let's get in here and I'll show you how to do this. The first thing we're going to want to do is open up our Inkbird controller. So When you open these up, and you can use any controller. Some people like these, some people hate these things, but anyways, you can use absolutely any controller. So when you open this up, the first thing you're going to notice is you want to take this back off. And let me grab a screwdriver. Let's do that. Whoop. So a little screw on the back, and it's both a Phillips and a slotted. Don't lose these parts. Okay, this will just pop off. And then these sides come off just by pressing this tab down and pulling them off. Now, here's the important part. The measurement from here to here, so you've got to go across the inside of this. And this is an important measurement. So here you can see we are just over, let's call that 2 3/4. We're going to stay on the tight side. So 2 3/4 by, this is going to be 1 1/8. Okay, 2 3/4 by 1 1/8. Those are important because when you cut your hole in the box, you can see there's only a small lip around here, and that clips onto the box. And then when we put it in, so we're going to dig our box out here. Now, it makes no difference where you want to put it, but we're going to cut a hole right in here. So that exact measurements. Be careful. Don't make it any bigger than you absolutely have to. I'm just using a Dremel. As you see, I started over here, so I'm just going to finish off this last side. Be careful, these edges are sharp. Now, I guess I should have taken the foam out of it. As you can see, I actually stayed on the inside of the lines here too. And the reason being is I've done this before where I've made the hole too big. So this is going to slide right in there, but you're better off like here. So it's not quite going to fit, but you're better off to have it too small and file it out or rasp it out than have it too big. So anyways, I'm just going to cut this out just a little bit bigger, and then we need this to slide in through there. Just go a little bit, try it again. That's so close, I think the file will do it now. We're getting there. All right, so there we have it. That's actually a nice, tight, snug fit. So you can see how it's in there. So I'm going to pop that back out, clean up some of those burrs, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so we measured it out. We'll drill our hole. There's the pilot. There's the 3/4 inch one. Let's clean all that up with a file. All right, so now we got that cleaned up with a file. Let's see how that fits in there. And I should have mentioned too, you see how there's this step here? So that's the size the drill bit has to be. I had to do a little bit more filing in order to get that, I think. So, and that now will slide in there. And let's turn around this way. You can see it. It sits right in there flush now. So that'll be good. This is protruding over a little bit, but we can clean that up. We'll just take that off so it sits flat. And these knobs have got it well up above anyway. So now what we got to do is figure out how we want this. I think I'm going to have this flap so it comes forward. And then we're going to mark our 4 holes and we're going to fasten that in there. Make sure it's somewhat square. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this piece comes with these screws. I'm not going to use them simply because, well, just me being me, I'm going to be inside. I'm going to be poking my fingers all the time with these. So I'm going to use a 1032, I think. I should just make sure that that fits in there. And it does. So a 1032 bolt with a nut on the back. And that way there's nothing for me to poke on. Does that fit? 832 might be better, but let me see what I got. Okay, so we do have some 832. We're going to use those ones. So we got our holes marked out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill one, and then we'll kind of go from there. Make sure we're on the center of the hole. We'll put this in there. And then we'll throw in a... Now, I'm also going to use... I hate these little packets. Ooh. A nylon lock nut. That way it won't come loose. And of course, we're going to throw a washer on there too, just to my stubby little fingers. Washer, and then the nut. All right, and we'll tighten them up. Make sure we're in there properly, which I guess we're not already. I guess I should have did that first, eh? There we go. And we'll do the one on the opposite side. Watch fingers. Bolt, washer, and a nut. Let's see how many times I can drop this nut. There we go. And we'll just repeat for all of them here. Turn this around so everybody can kind of see. And then just a washer. And a nut. So now we have our piece put in the end. We've got our controller in there. Now what we need to do is figure out what height we need for our cells to be in there good and sturdy. Now keep in mind, we do have these heating pads that are going to go in there, but they're pretty thin. They don't really take up much of anything. But I do have some of this 1/2 inch styrofoam, of which I cut a piece the same size as the bottom. And I think what we'll do is, let's see if we can do this. Slide that in, just like that. So our heating pads could go on top of that. And then we can put our cells in there, which come pretty much level to the top. Now out of this, let's get the, it's just a, what is this, 15 by 7 by 1 inch. So there was 2 sheets of it in here. So I cut a piece the size of the top. So that will slide in the top, just like that, holding, don't cut our wires, holding our cells in just nicely. There's just a tiny bit there. So that'll work out perfect. So now we're going to have to wire these things up. So these, it makes no difference. It's 12 volts. So we're going to pair these together, one from each one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strip them and I'm going to solder them together. I don't like anything coming loose. So let's get those soldered up now. Did you notice how this tipped back? That's what we don't want. Heat it up. Now, once again, you don't have to solder these together. You could, make sure I got one from each one. You could strip these. Where's my handy dandy wire strippers here? So if you wanted, you could strip these like this, twist them together, and that would work just fine as well. Okay, I'm going to strip just a little bit more, just because I want to solder them. So I mean, you don't have to solder these. I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. So if you don't have a soldering iron, don't fret. It's not the end of the world. I just find that they go a little bit better when you do solder them. And I don't ever have to worry about them coming apart. So we'll just take 2, and we'll take 2 off this end here as well. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Same thing here. We're going to those together. All right, now I've got my paste. And I've got my solder. See if I'm hot enough yet. Not quite yet. We'll let her heat up a little bit more. You'll know when it's hot enough because it'll start to steam there. Okay, we'll just give that a little bit, couple more minutes. Guess while we're doing that, so make sure you're taking a look at your controllers here. So, this is an ITC 1000F, 12 volt, right? So that's what we wanted. And it's got everything in here. What we're going to want to make sure that we're looking at, so we're going to want to make sure we're looking at how to wire this up. Okay, where the 12 volts power supply comes in and how we set everything up going across. Okay, now the one thing that it doesn't show in here is you do have to make a jumper over to it. So don't know why it doesn't show it in there, but we're going to do that too. I don't know if you saw how that just picked that up. So then we're just going to heat this up here. See how that solder just kind of flowed right in there? And we'll do the same thing to this one. We probably have enough solder on here. There we go. Nicely soldered up. Now, move that out of the way. What we're going to do is we don't need them nearly this long, so you can see how I can make a nice end now to fit inside our controller. So we got them wired up. So that'll give us 40 watts in there. Now the other thing we can do is our wires coming in. Now you don't have to do it this way either. You could use this and drill a small hole and then just tie a knot in this. Once it comes through the hole, you can just tie a knot in this so that it can't go back out through the hole, and then these can go right into your controller if you want. I just didn't want to have this so that I could trip over it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten these and make them just so that they'll go straight into my controller. So I don't need half of this wire that's in here, but I do want it to be nice and straight. So let's take care of this. I'm going to strip these down. Okay, and I am going to solder these up too. I should. That just makes a nice tight end. Oh. Anytime you do solder wires, you do want to wipe that excess flux off. It does, believe it or not, become corrosive. All right. So in here, if you take a look, the power supply, if you can see, 12 volt power supply comes in here. Down on the bottom, let me get these out of the way so you can see it. There are some little blade screws which open up a port right down here in the bottom for the wires to go in. Okay, so we got those soldered up. We're going to put those in, but we can't do it quite yet because we got to get some jump. I'm just going to put this, so we got to get some power over to the heater so that we can heat the heating pads here. So one end of these heating pads is just going to go back over here to the ground wire, which will be tied into the box. And then the other one is going to be tied into here, which is going to be fed by another wire. So I've just got another piece of wire here. I stripped the end let's get that soldered up. This will go relatively quickly and easy. It's pretty hot here now. There we go. Nice soldered up end. And we don't need it very long. Well, let's make it long enough so that we can work with it. So let's say yay. Doesn't have to be rocket science. We're going to do the same thing to this end. Let's get this end soldered up. Just like that. We're going to shorten them up a tiny bit. Now, we're pretty much ready to wire this thing up. Let me see if I can turn this up here so you guys will be able to see what's going on. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit for you. All right. Hopefully you can see where we're at. So we're going to put, as per our power, sorry, it's upside down. Let me see. I don't have to be upside down. I could just turn it over. So our power is going to come in here. We're going to have a jumper from these two over to the one that says heating. So we're going to jumper it over to these two. And then from here, it's going to go to the heating pad. And from the heating pad, it'll come back to tie in here. Let me put this together and I'll show you again. I'll put a link to the bug farmer there. He does a very good job of explaining it. He actually went and drew a whole diagram and everything. He's a little more savvy on that than I am. So let me just open these terminals up that we're going to need and make sure the other ones are tightened down. Okay, so we're going to bring the power in. Let's get that down in that terminal. I need the jumper wire in that terminal too. So we got those two in. Let's cut that off a little bit. It's just a little bit too long yet. We'll make it a little bit shorter. There we go. So they're both in there. And then we're going to tighten that down. Now, keep in mind, these are little circuit board terminals, so you notice I don't have a great big huge screwdriver here. All right, step number one. We got the, I don't know why I want to keep showing it to you upside down. We got the power coming into that terminal block. Now, we're going to take one, so this will be our ground end, and we're going to put that in with the power coming out of the terminal block as well. This might get a little confusing because, well, these all came with the same color wires, so for that I apologize. Let's get that in there. Yeah, we'll tighten that one down. Okay, so let me show you again. So this is going to be our jumper wire. It's going to go over. So we got the red wire coming in with a jumper. We got the black wire going in with two wires from our heating pads here. Okay, it's going to look a little bit, see if I can get these out of the way here for you. There, that looks a little bit better. So Power coming in on the red wire into the terminal. We have a jumper in with that one. Our ground wire coming in to the terminal, 12 volt, right, with one of the sets from our heating pad. Now this one, we're going to make it come over, and we're going to put it into this terminal. Let me see if I can do this while you guys watch. So you see how it's now in that terminal, and then you just snug the screw down. You can tell it's good. And then our other set of wires is going to go in the other side of that. And then we're going to tighten that down. All right. Hopefully that makes sense now. Okay. Our jumper over to supply power to the heating. We got coming out. And it's important here to remember too that the most this can handle is 10 amps. So we are still well within our limits. So the only other one we have left to put on here is our sensor. So I don't know if you can see that. That's going to tell us what the temperature is. And our sensor, so we'll zoom back out. Our sensor comes in the box. So it is right here. Now, I don't know if you can cut this or not. I've never tried. Sometimes these are a calibrated wire, so they have to be, the length that they are. But this bulb on the end here is what reads the temperature. And of course, we want that to tell us the temperature of what our cells are going to be. So I'm going to glue these down in the bottom here so that they can't move. And get some wires flat back up out of the way here. So we'll offset these tiny bit. Now, I'm just going to use some of this spray adhesive. Now, soldering iron is off. We don't have any source of ignition, right? We don't want to catch fire, don't want to poison ourselves, and we definitely don't want to explode. A little bit of adhesive. We'll set our, there's one. And there's our other one. We'll tuck our wires in underneath. Kind of something like that. Now, this piece here, we're going to let our adhesive dry before we put that in. But we're going to have this sensor pretty much in the center. So if I just set that there, you can see I still have some room. So I just cut a few more cells to go in there. So what will that get us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 cells this will hold. All right. So what we're going to do is we want this somewhere in the center, right? Now, if I was to put it underneath, of course, that's going to be right on the heating element. So that's not probably where we're going to want it. We're going to want it somewhere in the center. And if you can see, there's a bit of room in between here. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually pull the wire through here so that it's inside the styrofoam, reading it. And if you can see, it's a real thin, you can all see the holes. So the heat's going to come up through here relatively easy. Now, let's see, how am I going to do that? Piece of hay wire would work well. Okay, so how are we going to get this through there? We're going to use a piece of hay wire. So what we're going to do is these things are going to put them the way they stack together here, which is going to be something like that. And we're just going to take this wire and we're going to poke it through, and making sure we don't hit any of the cells, right, in between there. And then line these two up as well. And then we're just going to kind of keep poking that down through. Until we get it to where we want it. I'm just going to poke it all the way down here for now, just to show you how easy it is to poke out the other end. Okay, now here we're going to want to fold that over. So let's grab our pliers. We're just going to fold this end over. And what we're going to do is not the ball end, but the other end. We're going to put it in here, and we're going to squeeze this wire together. Now, if you had some electrical tape, that would be a good thing too. Let me see if I got any here. I do not. So now we're going to very carefully pull this back through. So what's going to happen is this wire is going to come back through everything. Might have to just hold it down and be a little bit careful here until we get it started, because we don't want to rip our styrofoam, and just kind of keep on pulling it through as it comes. So there we are out the one side. We're just going to keep on pulling. Now, you guys probably won't have your foam in two pieces, but the fact that I do is not the end of the world. There we go. Now we're going to open this back up and take that wire out. Okay, now we'll keep this untangled as we pull this through. Now, the bulb is about to go in there, so we just have to figure out where we want it. I'm thinking I want the bulb somewhere in about the center here, so somewhere right in around here. So that means I'm going to pull the bulb until I can feel it in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in. I'm going to hold these ones as that bulb starts to disappear in there. There it went. So it's gone past 1. And then I'm going to go down and hold the next 2 here. As I feel it go past, there's 2. There's 3. Okay, the bulb is right here now. I can feel it. So we'll pull this one up tight. So our bulb is right in the middle of them all right now. So now what we have to do is, you see on this end, they've already soldered those. They're already together. Just kind of grab them and pull them apart here a tiny bit. Sometimes you got to use a knife. And what you want to do is you just want to cut just in between those wires just a tiny bit to start it. And then you can pull them apart. They stay well insulated that way. Okay, and back to our wiring diagram. If you remember, right here we have our sensor. So that comes down to this set of terminals right here. One wire on each side of the sensor. Put one in, tighten it down. Give it a little tiny gentle pull just to make sure it's in there. And then the other side, open that one up. And then slide that one in too. And then tighten that one up. Now, all this wire, not the end of the world, because we can wrap it back up, we can tie it back up. I'm just going to use the same tie that it came with, and all the wires are still a little bit of memory from them being wrapped up, so it's easy to wrap it back up. Here's our tie wrap. Now, you can try it. You can try cutting it off. I don't know if it makes a difference, to be honest with you. Okay, so we can just set this down here. Now, all we need to do is cut a piece of styrofoam to cover this up. So we're just going to use this white styrofoam. Oh, maybe I can even use the yellow stuff if we wanted. I can measure. I'm going to make this a little bit on the firm side. Let's do it this way, so we'll cut it all the way across. And then we'll go the same way here. Time for a new knife blade. Should just cut that really well the first time, but and we can tuck that in. See how it's crushing that cell? So we're going to make it a little bit shorter. Now let's get rid of this ragged side. There we go. All right. Now we just got a power cord to make. So we'll turn our soldering iron back on. Once again, you don't have to solder these. These could be, you could use butt connectors. You could splice it. You know, once again, I think soldering it would be the better way to go. So this is a fairly long cord too, which is good. And it's got a nice light on the end, so when it's plugged in, you know, you can turn it on or off. Okay, so I'll leave the link down below. So while my soldering iron's heating back up, set that off to the side. So you could use, you know, you could use something like a, oh, I don't know, like a butt connector, right, to hook these things back up. You could use, you know, a spade connector, or male and female if you want. Anything like that would work. I'm going to splice and solder mine together, and I'm going to heat shrink them when I'm done. So that way it just stays a little bit stronger. So I'm going to split these up again. So just a little bit, and then you can open it up. They are opened up down at this end already. And then we're going to do the same thing with this end. They're already opened up too. Now, the other thing I like to do is I like to alternate them. So you don't have one great big fat thing right here, one up here and one down here. So it might be a little bit fatter, a little bit longer. And if I put these closer to the end too, I want to leave it enough so that my heat shrink will go over it, but then I can solder it and heat shrink it all together. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to heat shrink everything after when I'm done, that one might be a little bit small. Let's get a bit bigger heat shrink here. I'm going to heat shrink over top of all the heat shrinks. Yeah, I know. Does it need to be done? Probably not. But there's lots of things I do that probably don't have to be done. So we're going to pull that one on way out to the back. We're going to pull this one on, get it way out here to the back. Then I'm going to need that's a bit too small. We're going to need a black one and a red one. Put the rest of this stuff back in. Here, ready to go. Set that off back over here on the shelf. Okay, so my wire cutters. You can see there's a black one and a red one. When you strip this apart, be careful because red on there, but it's actually the black wire. So the red one's always the power. We're going to make that one kind of the shortest. So what I'm doing is I want to be able to make sure that it'll go on there. So about a little better than half, and I'll show you why. Right, and then the black one, we're going to make it a little bit longer. And strip these. And now we're going to need our soldering paste and everything again. This one goes the exact opposite. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make these kind of line up, if you will. So we're going to, this is already pre-soldered, so I don't want that because I want it to line up here. Oops, see what I did there? So I used the wrong one and I actually cut half the wires out of it. We'll start over. This is set up so that the wire gauges and everything, if you needed to. There we go. Now I have all the wires. Our red heat shrink on there. And we're going to twist this one around that one and then this one around that one. So it won't come apart. Okay, we're going to get some flux on there. String out our solder here so that it's easy to solder at here. Actually, I'll set it up. I got this nice convenient little box here that's set up. I can hold it on to show you. I don't know if we're heated up yet enough or not. We are. So if you can hold this straight as you do that, it's going to work out a little bit better too. So kind of like that. And away we go. and wipe off all the flux. Notice there was a couple pointies there, so we can just flatten those down. Now, see how that's going to cover that up nicely? We can take care of that one right now too if you want. So just a lighter. And we're going to shrink the heat shrink. That's one side done. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with the black one, but we're going to want to make sure that these wires are the right length now. So you see how they pretty much will line right up. So one around the other and round again. So oop. See how we didn't quite get that right? So we're going to cut that off and we're going to redo it. So we'll make this one here a little bit shorter. And we'll try that again. Round and round. Still not quite. A tiny bit more. There we go. A little bit of flux. Not that much. Oh, still too much, too much. And we'll solder these on there again. Once again, if you can keep it straight, that's best. Oh, but guess what we forgot? Start over. Just because there is a little bit of solder there, just going to make sure it's good. All right, keep that wire straight. Here we go. Wipe off the excess flux. And we will heat shrink it. Now, remember we've had these other two pieces, so we're going to bring them back up now. And what we're going to do is we're going to strengthen this up here a little bit. And then we have this other piece we're going to put right over top of everything, right up to the end. There we go. So now this end will plug into the car. This end's going to plug into your control box. Let's clean this up and I'll see if I can power it up and I'll show you how to set it. All right, let's try this again. So we've got the plugged in and you can see how you can turn the power on and off. So we've got the power turned on. Come over here, look at that, we got power on here. So we have a few different set points. You notice it's saying it's cool, heat, 39.2 degrees Celsius. We got a few things here. So top one is our power button, bottom one is our set point, and of course we can go up or down. So if we hold in the bottom one here, you're gonna see this should start to flash. There we have ES, so that's our set point. We hit it again, and it's gonna tell us what the set point is. So right now it's set for 23 degrees Celsius. We can turn that set point up or down by just using the buttons, okay? And then when you hit the set point again, it goes back. Next, we can cycle through. So this is our differential set point. So that'd be the temperature between the two of them, like when it kicks on and when it kicks off. So if we hit it, it's showing 1 degree right now, which is probably pretty good. We want to keep it within about 1 degree inside there. Our calibration in Celsius or Fahrenheit. So we have it in Celsius, and we're back to our expected set point. So it is sitting at 39.1, 39.8. So as you can see, it's dropping pretty fast because this was sitting inside the house, so or inside the shop. So let's see if we can kick this on here. It's going to keep dropping because, well, it's cold out here. My truck says it's 14 degrees Celsius. I'm sitting out here and it's I got the heater off so that you don't have a whole bunch of the fan on there. But let's crank this baby up and see if it'll kick on. So we're going to hit the set point again, and we're going to hit it a second time. We're at 23. So let's crank this thing up. We'll crank it up to, I don't know, let's say 40 degrees. There we go. And you see, we flipped it over. So those heating elements in there should be heating right now. We're going to give it a minute. Oops, sorry. We're going to give it a minute, and then we're going to feel in there to see if it's heating up. We should be able to see it here. Stop and turn around and start climbing here too. So still dropping a little bit, but got to remember we got to heat those heating pads up, and then we got to heat the foam up. So it is slowing down. It's not cooling down quite as fast. And it is cold here in the truck too, so I literally just jumped in, plugged it in, and turned it on. So it's minus 14 degrees here in the truck too, so everything is cold. Welcome to Canada. January. Looks like we've arrested the
There we go. We're starting to heat back up now. $36.5, 36.6. So even a minus 14, just those 2 heating pads in there is more than enough to heat this thing back up. We're up to 37 degrees already. I think we had the set point at what, 40, so we're just going to let this heat back up to 40 degrees. We're going to watch to make sure that it'll kick off. Two more degrees. It's going pretty quick here, so. This won't take long at all. So remember, we set the differential set point to 1 degree, so it should go to about 41 degrees before it shuts off. And that's all snow. So it is cold out here. Oh, there's 40 degrees. It kicked off. And it should arrest right around about 41. And let's just make sure we'll open this up. Oh, toasty, cozy, comfy. Toasty, cozy, comfy. All right, we'll shut this off. And we'll unplug it. That way it makes it nice and easy to carry. And we'll head back to the shop.
Well, there you have it. An easy afternoon build for a fraction of the cost. And like I say, I have mine so that it'll come apart. Makes it easy to carry, nothing to trip on. So there you go. Hopefully that helps everybody out there. See all the links down below for all the parts and pieces. So until next time.